I met my boyfriend when I was 15 years old. He was 21. We got together many times and we started dating. And when I was 18, we decided to move in together.
I had been in a short relationship with my boyfriend for a couple months, and we had broken up over the summer.
I met my husband. Well, he was my boyfriend at that time. I wasn't living with him. And we had a baby girl.
Everything was great. He wanted to establish himself as a businessman, and I wanted to finish school.
I was in my second year of service with an AmeriCorps program, and you get paid on biweekly stipend. And so I was already having a hard enough time being able to provide for myself.
We were in a great place in our relationship. Financially, things were a little hard for us, but we were able to make it.
One winter, I started feeling really sick. A lot of my friends had stomach flu, but I also realized that I was a few days late on my period. I asked my boyfriend to go to the store and get a test for me. This was something that I just wanted to rule out because that was not something that I wanted in the back of my mind at all.
About January, I was starting to feel movements, and I wasn't quite sure. Maybe I had some digestive problems. But I remember the Thursday night going home and passing by a grocery store and something telling me just to go inside and get a pregnancy test.
Maybe TMI, but the day that we actually had sex, I told him, I said, I got pregnant. He was like, there's no way possible. No, you don't know that. I was like, I got pregnant.
I had never taken one before, so I wasn't even sure if I was doing it right.
It very quickly turned positive. I just kept looking at it thinking that it's just gonna turn back to negative and everything's gonna be okay, but it never did.
Only thing I can think of was what everybody else would have said, because I did have 2 previous children out of marriage. So I knew there's no way I can do this. I can't. And I went into panic.
I didn't know who I could trust and who I could tell. But I had a close friend of mine, and she helped me just look into different clinics.
It wasn't until the next morning when I realized that it's not something that's just going to go away, that there's something that I need to do about it.
I wanted to know all of my options, whether that was parenting, adoption, or abortion. I wanted to be able to be as informed as I could with everything, and from there be able to make my decision.
I went to the clinic. There was a counselor. She told me that it would be a medical abortion. I was terrified, so I asked her, I said, is it gonna hurt? I mean, what are the complications? She made it seem like it was the easiest procedure in the world.
So I knew about Planned Parenthood. I was able to get a hold of someone. She asked me, how many weeks am I? I told her that I'm not sure. So she told me that I should go somewhere where they offer an ultrasound so they could know what kind of procedure I could be able to have.
They did an internal ultrasound, and they're telling me it's a healthy pregnancy, and now the baby has to grow more before we can end it.
My mind you naturally think about, I'm in this situation, how do I get out of it? How do I?
I scheduled anyway an appointment for February 7th at 7:45 a.m. And then I was able to schedule an appointment for the day before my abortion for my ultrasound.
My family had a Thanksgiving dinner at my uncle's house. That was a horrible day because everyone else is so happy, but I'm sitting there and I'm pregnant and I'm waiting for my abortion date. And all I could do was act normal, but I feel like I was dying inside.
When I have the opportunity to be a parent in the future, I would want to be able to provide everything that I want. But I knew that at that moment in my life, I wasn't ready and I wasn't able to do that.
I got the sonogram done that did verify that, in fact, I was 9 weeks pregnant with a little baby in me that I was able to see. So we went to sleep that night and I could not fall asleep. I just watched the clock turn into 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
We drove there. It was about 30 minutes away. And it was many deaths. It was so many deaths. So it wasn't a personal thing. It almost reminded me of it was like a factory situation, you know?
I sat through that, 20-minute video that showed the entire medical procedure of what it would take to do an abortion.
By the time the sun came up, he had to go to work, so he got up and got ready, but I just stayed there. I realized the reason why I keep thinking about it so much was because I didn't want to do it.
She handed me the first pill. I took that pill quickly because I didn't want to change my mind.
And as the clock ticked and I saw how 7:45 came, that's when I realized that I'm making a decision based off of what my heart really truly wants. And that was that, and I'm not going back.
The next day, I took the second pill and I started to have really bad cramps. I went to the bathroom and I looked down. I saw a pouch. And I flushed the toilet. I feel like that may have been the hardest part. Because it's like you're telling yourself, oh, you took your child and you flushed it down the toilet. After that, I was in a very dark place. A very dark place. The darkest place I've ever been in my life. It's like I was drowning and screaming, but no one knew.
I wasn't ready to parent, but I also didn't want to go through with an abortion. That wasn't an option for me. I wasn't going to go through that. I wasn't going to put the baby through that. So I decided to learn more about adoption.
I knew that instead of my life being over, I just had to make some adjustments. I had the option to take online classes at a community college. I became a nanny where I could be able to bring my baby and also work. So there was many days where I could do all three at once. I would be at work, I would put the kids down for a nap, and I would study.
I was able to sit down with a birth parent counselor, and she kind of explained everything to me, the different aspects of what adoption is, the different kinds of adoption. She was listening to me talk about the different families, and she kind of said to me, I think you already know who you want. And in the next 2 days after that, we set up a time to meet.
For every hour that I worked, for every class that I took, each step was more rewarding than it would have been.
I remember walking up the steps, and first I see the adoptive dad, and we immediately lock eyes and just hug, just without saying anything. And then I see behind him is Ariana, the adoptive mother, and same thing, we just hug each other and hold each other. From there, it just felt right, so we became essentially a little family together.
Do I regret it? Yes. if I could take it back, yes, I would take it back. And I'm not trying to get over it. Honestly, as a mother in situations like that, you don't want to get over it because that's all I really have of that pregnancy.
The day that my son was born was ironically exactly 7 months later. The abortion should have been February 7th, and I was giving birth September 7th. I was very scared, but then when they were pulling him out, I could hear him crying a bit, and he was real, he was there, and then just moments later, he was in my arms. I fell in love. It was everything that I hoped for.
A lot of sort of opinions or judgments around adoption is that it's a very selfish act, that you place your baby, you get rid of your baby. But it was the most selfless thing I ever had to do, and the most difficult thing that I've ever had to do.
Get rid of the fear for a moment, because that's all it is. It's fear. It's fear of judgment from others. It's fear of, am I going to be a good mom? It's fear of, oh, the father's leaving me. Get rid of the fear, no matter what the fear is. Get rid of it for a moment and think about you and what you're going to go through after this. It's always presented as abortion doesn't have consequences, but that is impossible. With abortion, the consequence stays with you. And you have to question whether that's worth it. You ask me, no, it's not worth it.
It's not something that I need to be ashamed of, but instead, it's something that I can be proud of with Zavi and the life that he is living and who he is and everything he's learning, because he's such a cool kid.
Because I decided to stick with that decision of what my heart wanted me to do, I have him. He has taught me how to love. He has taught me how to be persistent. He has taught me that giving up is never an option. And so I wouldn't be the woman that I am if I wasn't a mother to him.